Got this little 20-inch Motors Mill Master that we picked up on a video earlier. You may have seen it, you may have not, but the problem with it is these bearings, these Babbitt bearings, they're wore out. We're getting just right at metal to metal on the bottom of this one. And the thing about it is, if you fix one of them, you have to, if these two are good, sometimes, well, I think we done it on this mill. As a matter of fact, we poured this in bearing only last time and was able to adjust and take the slack out on these two. But that time is over. We was able to get by with that once to keep them in production, and now it's time. All three of these bearings, this one, and this one, all have to be re-poured. And we're gonna have to pour tops and bottoms on these, the caps or the bottoms, and pour the caps as well. So it's gonna be a pretty good little job. We're gonna start tearing this thing apart. So what I've had to do here is break this bushing loose from this pulley sheave. So I took that apart. I've got the eccentric loose from the shaft. Now I'm gonna slide the whole shaft out that way with the runner stone, everything. Of course, this bed stone will come all the way off. The whole shaft will be going out on this mill. And the purpose of that is so that we can get into these bearings, the bottom half of them, and re-pour them. So the whole shaft is going to slide out. It'll slide through the bushing, through the pulley sheave, through the eccentric, through the spring and the collar, out, and all these things will be free from the shaft. And we'll leave them out until the last time we put it together. Runner stone will come out of this housing. There won't be any shaft in it. It'll be bare. The Babbitt bearings will be open. That's the next step. Let y'all see what it looks like behind the runner stone of a hard working mill. Look at that corn meal piled up down in there, and that stuff is ground into powder. It just keeps packing up in there. See how fine that is? Just keeps packing up behind this runner stone, and it just keeps getting rubbed and rubbed. Man, it feels like graphite or something. It just grounds so fine. Very fine corn flour. Just packs up in there, can't get out. You won't have that on a Metcalf mill. These two are getting a little thin. Not as bad as the one on the other end, but the wear to these things, the shaft, the weight out there of that runner stone, and the way the grinding works, it torques down on that outside bearing on the outside housing, and that's what gets the wear. So we're gonna have to remove the Babbitt out of this one, and this one, and the one on the bottom of the housing over there, and get it ready to pour. And right here you can see these little dimples in the it's a round hole in the casting, and that Babbitt goes in there, as you've heard me say before on videos, and that's what holds that Babbitt in place and keeps it from ever wanting to twist or anything in the casting. There's two on each side. This one come out with the big piece. This one right here, this one broke like the other three. So now I'm gonna pull the Babbitt out of this bearing over here on the housing, and then pull it out of the other half over here, the bedstone half. Pull the Babbitt out of that one, and we'll be ready to start cleaning everything up to re-pour them. Now the way I get these little divots out, I just take a nail set or something, a little point. I just drive it down into one side of them. Just start working my way, prising a little bit. You'll finally get to a point where they'll pop right out. Some of them you have to work with, some of them will pop right out. See there? See that can come right out. Every one seems like it's different. Now this one here looks real loose. Yeah, see it's already, see there how easy it popped out? Wanted to show you on this end bearing, so you can see what it means to be, for the Babbitt to be wore out. So this Babbitt liner, you can see along the edge, on your top side, you can see where it comes down there, and there's a big chunk gone right in the center of the screen. And then on this edge, you can see how the Babbitt comes down through there, and then there's a big piece gone. Well, you can see in the center of the screen where there's some Babbitt left all the way out to this edge right here. See this Babbitt right here? There's a big chunk gone here. It's gone right here in the center a little bit. This is gone right here because it just wore out. The Babbitt has wore completely out down to the cast housing of the bedstone. So that's how it gets wore out. The Babbitt's just gone. And it was just barely starting to chew a little bit on that shaft when we took it apart. I noticed that, and then got to looking. We seen this was completely wore out. So I'll take all this old Babbitt out here, re-pour it with new, and this will be nice and thick here. So we'll take this old Babbitt out as we did the other two, and we'll pour a new one, and it'll be ready for a lot of years and a lot of pounds of corn. Wanted to show y'all here. That's all that was left of the bottom of this liner. They got every bit of the use out of that. Every bit of it. But there's been, I wouldn't care to say, a few million pounds of corn went through that mill. 1 million, I know, because from one time I dressed the stones, if you remember I talked about it in the stone dressing video, from one time dressing the stones in this mill till the next time I dressed them, they had ground 1 million pounds of corn. Miller keeps up with every pound, and that's what it had on it, so we'll get it poured and be ready for the millions again. It's time for Fun Fact Friday, because this day and time, facts are hard to come by. I got a good one for you today. It's additional information on my pickle recipe. I hope it's a help to you. There's no grapevine right here, and it growed up in these apple trees. And I want you to look. I mean, it's been like this for several years. It ain't just happened. I want you to look at the grapes. Look at that. I've never seen this grapevine do that good. It was on a little trellis. Daddy and Mother had it trellised here years ago, and it just got wild, and I just mowed around it. But look at the grapes. I can't believe how many there are on it. It's hanging full.
Yeah, it is.
So this is where we're going to get our grape leaves right here for our pickles to use to make our pickles. I don't see that you need a great big grape leaf. I don't see that you need a great big grape leaf. These little ones will work just fine. So I'm getting the main stem on that one. Whoop. Here's 2 more. We got plenty of them, don't we? Mm-hmm. Now I remember years ago, Mother, when she was pickling her beans, she would get grape leaves and put on top of her beans in the crock when she was pickling them. I can remember her doing that. I wonder if we got enough, Char. Them's pretty big
ones.
Pretty big leaves, ain't they?
Mm-hmm. Really big.
I wouldn't advise doing this on your grapevine, where your main grapevine. Or at least out on the tip ends of it, not to where it will take away the shade from your grapes, because that wouldn't be good. Now this little side stem here, I'm getting them off of. There's plenty of, see, it ain't right up, there ain't no grapes. In other words, I ain't robbing no shade from no grapes. So that ought to be a plenty. Yeah. That ought to be a plenty. All right, girl. Let's go make some pickles.
See ya.
I'm gonna dump our grape leaves in the sink here. Just give them a good washing. Give them a good washing. Like I say, I can't guarantee no results on this, because all I know experience-wise is Mother used to do this with her pickle beans, and that's all I can tell you. That's all I can tell you. I'm gonna cut all the stems off of these grape leaves right down close to the leaf. I don't know if that's required or not, but I'm gonna do it.
Hey, Pops.
Anyway.
Can we take these to Goodwill?
Yeah, put them in the bag.
Where is it?
So,
Where's the Goodwill?
the stems cut off. And these look like pretty good leaves. So I'm just gonna put, like I say, I washed them. So I'm gonna fold up one leaf, put it right down, try to put it down flat in the bottom of my jar. It'll have something to hold it down there. Let's fold them up, put them in the jar. Another thing I've done here, I can't stress enough, you want the freshest cucumbers. I mean, like, take them off of the vine, bring them in, wash them, put them in the jar, and pickle them. You want them that fresh. That helps with staying crunchy, but these just started bearing, and we can't eat them all, but it wasn't hardly enough to start canning yet, so I put them in glass jars, sealed them up, and put them in the refrigerator. I brought them in, rinsed everything off as I could. Just rinsed them off, washed them good, put them in these jars, and put them in the refrigerator. And they've been in there 3 or 4 days, and they're still just as firm as they was when I brought them in. So it's if you don't have a lot of plants and it's hard to save up, if you don't do that, they will get spongy, rubbery real fast. But like I said, these have stayed really firm in the refrigerator. And now we've got enough to have a little run of pickles. So I can't promise you this will work because it's the first time I've ever used it. But like I said, they're nice and firm. So we'll see. And we've got our cucumbers in the jars. I've already put our dill in on top of them. And now I'm going to take our grape leaves and just put them in as best I can, because we're going to pour that brine in here, and I don't want these leaves covering the whole top of the jar, because that's going to make it splatter out. You know what I'm saying? So we'll just tuck them down, tuck them in where we can still get the hot water in, and make sure that there's not anything sticking up over the rim of your jar like this, because that'll make it not seal. You want all them down in there. Tuck that in. We can make that one lay down when we put the lid on. So that's gonna be good. As long as it's in there, I don't see that it's gonna matter. I wish I could tell you I had experience of this, but this is one of the things, grape leaves, that will cause things to stay crisp. So we're gonna find out. I'm gonna brine them now. It's the same, just like my pickle recipe. The only different step is not putting the alum in and putting in the grape leaves. So we're gonna see how it does.